Mangesh bhai, one question
Harsh bhai.
Shunyata is I couldn't clearly understand what it means by in terms of nihilism and in terms of what Buddha told. I couldn't get it clearly exactly. So can you please explain it?
Okay. See, generally there are two views in the world. One is that everything is going to get destroyed. Nihilism. That is called nihilism, total destruction.
Mhm.
Okay. And there is a philosophy called eternalism, that everything is eternal. Something is eternal in the world. It never changes. It never gets destroyed. For example, the doctrine of Atma. Okay. Then in the logical terms, the word is either true or either false. Okay. But in the Buddhist philosophical terms, there is nothing, there is no nihilism. The nihilism is not the way the world is, or eternalism is not the way world is. So what is the nature of the world? So it's a continuous change. It's called flux. Everything is in the flux. Everything is moving. Everything is flowing. Okay. And because everything is flowing, is in the flow, we cannot find anything permanent there, because everything is transformable. Inherently, everything is transformable. So why everything is transformable? Because there is nothing called eternal fact or eternal reality to anything. And that this lack of eternal sort of reality or eternal sort of a substance is called sunyata. Okay, because if you examine something, we cannot find anything eternal, or you cannot find anything substantial in a sense. So what happens is that, because and this changes, as we can just imagine about it, this changes happening at a very micro level, at the microscopic level. Even we dig deeper, we can see that there is only process, there is no product. There are only processes which are taking place at micro level, all levels. There are only processes. And the processes are like, one thing leading to another, one thing leading to another, one thing leading to another continuously. Okay, without, delay of time. We see that there is a delay of time. For example, if you shoot an arrow from here to there, or for example, if we walk a certain distance. So when we walk a certain distance, we, for the sake of language, we say we have walked. But actually the walking is the process. So we cannot say that, what point of time the walking takes place, because when you move forward, whatever has been gone is already gone, atita. So whatever has gone, we cannot, we cannot cognize it. Whatever is yet to come, we cannot cognize it. Even the process of walking itself is dynamic. So we can say that, there is a walking, but there is no walker. It's very, deep concept. So let's try to simplify it in terms of the true and false. So generally in the logic, we say that things are, either true or false. But the Buddhist said, no, there are the grades of truth and there are the grades of falsity. Isn't it? So therefore the Buddhist logic goes like this: true, false, both true and false, neither true nor false. So it's in a way, it's like breaks our mind from the binaries of existence and non-existence. Because our minds live in the binaries. That's how our minds are conditioned to think either way, either this or that. But we cannot conceptualize something which cannot be expressed in binary. The word cannot be expressed in binaries. The binary of good and bad. Buddhists will say, no, it's not. There is no permanent good. There is no permanent bad. Everything is transformed. Today you are good. Tomorrow you can be worse. Today you are worse. Tomorrow you can be a better person. Isn't it? What Baba Ambedkar calls it, the inherent flexibility. And this inherent flexibility is nothing but shunyata. You see? So it's not an easy concept to understand. We have to read a lot. We have to think about it a lot. we have to give it a lot of deep thinking. But I think this particular explanation of a few minutes, I know it doesn't do the justice to what you are seeking, but it's a long quest that we all have to put ourselves into, and to understand the nature of time, to understand the nature of being, to understand the nature of everything that surrounds us. And that's why the Buddhism is so beautiful, because it doesn't give you fixed theories, it doesn't give you fixed sort of answers. We have to explore, we have to think through it, right? Anything else?
Sir, in one way we can say it totally resembles and fulfills the principles of science, cause and effect,
Yes.
simply.
Yes, cause and effect is there, but also the Buddhist doctrine is not just about cause and effect, but also about conditionality. Because
Yes, sir.
there has to be presence of certain conditions also. So generally we think about cause and effect, but that's a very limited way of looking at what is called a doctrine of paticca or the doctrine of how the things arise. There are also conditions. So that's why the Buddha says, depending on the causes and conditions.
Yes, the causes surrounds the conditions.
So there has to be suitable conditions also for certain thing to arise.
I think like in Abhidhamma, there is a complete compendium on cause and effect as well as the conditions. Right? So it's just pretty deep in that sense.
Yes.
Mangesh bhai, Pankaj here.
Okay, bhai.
In line with this, I just have some explanation needed for, there are some energies which are, we feel, but cannot be explained. For example, like having, dreams. You feel that 2-3 people's getting the same dream in the same span of time. This is, or your mind gives some intuition initially itself to control something while driving, or there are many such example which are experienced by human body, but were very difficult to explain many a times. But as a human mind, we feel those. Yes, there are some intuitions in the intuition to the human mind for any happening or something. How it is is it connected with the internalism, what you said, or how it can be correlated with shunyata?
See, the domain of consciousness itself is a very fascinating domain, because when we talk about the 5 elements, we also talk about the element of mind, the consciousness, and generally the consciousness is equated, is replaced by space. And of course we don't know what is the space, because the space that we see around us is not empty. We know that it's filled up with what is called the dark matter, and there are a lot of speculative thinking about what is this dark matter, what is the nature of this so-called empty space. There is nothing empty in the universe, right? And it's just speculative. What I'm going to talk is just speculative, because it's the human mind is not easy to understand. The mind itself is co-produced depending on several conditions. It's not something which can be separated from the materiality. And what is so-called materiality, in according to Buddhist philosophies, is a coagulated consciousness. So whatever we see is the coagulation of the consciousness, and whatever we experience is all due to the consciousness, because nothing in the world that we experience is not mediated by the consciousness, because the consciousness or the mind or the chitta is always there. And but the chitta or mind, as we know, is natural. It's just like what the elements that we talk about, Prithvi, Tej, Vayu, and all things. And like the quality of sensing or the quality of being aware is the chitta. Like the solidity is the quality of earth. When we touch it, it registers. So what I'm trying to get it at is, this word of consciousness is very it feels mysterious, but it's not. The consciousness is also natural. Is natural. It's not mysterious force. So maybe one day we will have the sort of explanation of all these things empirically. At this moment, because the science is exploring this domain, maybe we will have some answers. But at the present moment, as a Buddhist, we can understand that this consciousness we are endowed with, or the consciousness that we have, we even cannot say consciousness we have, because the consciousness creates the impression of self, but there is no self. So to enter into the domain of consciousness, there is, as Harsh was saying, the domain or the discipline of Abhidhamma, where the Buddha goes on talking about various experiences of our chitta. So kama vachar chitta, rupa vachar chitta, rupa vachar chitta, and lokuttara chitta, the lokiya chitta, the chitta of the Buddha, which doesn't dwell in this loka. So I think, I don't know how to answer this question very honestly, because I would be speculative if I do so. And I think that what as a Buddhist we can do is to understand the profundity of Buddhism, that the Buddhism offers a tool to transform the very consciousness. I think the great magic that the Buddha has brought in the world is that to show that the minds can be transformed through the Dhamma. And I think that's very remarkable, that we instead of go on for something which we cannot prove empirically and go on speculating it can be fanciful for discussion. But when it comes to practicing Buddhism, Pankaj Bhai, I think what we have to understand is how this very mind can become enlightened, how we can go progress from this darkness to the light, how we
Yeah,
can
true.
how we can cultivate our mind to a better mind, how we can cultivate our mind to more cultured mind, how we can cultivate our mind from this very embryonic compassion we have to the great compassion of the Buddha himself. So I think these are all doable things, and the Buddha has
These are
demonstrated
all
that.
doable. No doubt, dual. But this question arises because this is based on the personal experiences. For example,
Yeah.
it is 100 times and more when my wife thinks of something. For example, a song, same line at the time is I am uttering, or it is in my mind. How it is possible more than 100 times?
I think
You
your
know.
minds might have been, blended so well that, they communicate.
No,
I
that
think
but it is
even
happening
I
more
have
than 100 times.
experienced.
Now, in your case, whatever song comes in your mind, your wife knows it. In some people's case, might be opposite. One song might be appearing in somebody's mind, and one gali might be appearing in somebody's mind. All this. You see what I'm saying? Trying to say, because see,
No, but even I also experience these things. Like
yeah,
if I'm thinking of someone, definitely I cross-check myself in my own way sometimes. That is true also. That other person is thinking of me in that particular time. That is possible. And then
yes,
what
Yes.
Mangesh Bhai is saying, that is the classic example of synchronization. That you see, there are some videos on synchronization on YouTube. You can understand by that when you are like two persons are living together, your heartbeats get synchronized in a such a way that you start thinking of each other very passionately or compassionately, whatever it is.
No, that's great,
It's
but
good.
it happens only for few subjects. That is another mystery.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen for all the subjects,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and there are so many instances on personal basis. But I think it is within the discussion point or not, or we can have separate session also for this. But there is some energy. That was what
Yeah.
my question, and you said it with the Abhidhamma Pitik. There is something we can have discussion on that.
Yes, but what I would say, whatever is personal, we cannot validate unless it becomes it's universally validated. So, for example, I might feel something personally, or other person might feel something personally, but that phenomena has to be universally be able to, we have to be universally able to describe it. So, what kind of a theory, what kind of the principles will describe that particular thing? Because mind is a very fanciful device, as I told you, that mind can see animals in the clouds. The mind can see the animals in the clouds, right? We can speculate at all levels, and there are so many thousands of causes and conditions. something can happen just like that, in a sense of we without we understand it. So what I'm saying is, individual experience are okay. We are not having any doubt with your experiences. What I'm saying is, what is individual? For example, the domain of dreams, isn't it? We all dream, but there is no universal theory that will explain the dreams of particular nature. Why we dream, we know why we dream, but there is no universal theory. This area itself is now open to a lot of research inquiry. And so there are a lot of domains in the realm of consciousness which needs a lot of inquiry further. And the individual experience are okay, but how do we validate through the universal doctrine? And you see, all the teachings that the Buddha gives are universal. They are applicable here and applicable there. They are just like science. They are like, can be proved, can be demonstrated anywhere. They have the universal application. That's what the science does. So from a particular case, to understand the underlying law is very important. So what is this law of one person intuiting and other person is feeling the same? What is there any law of consciousness that we have to? I think these domains of inquiry remains there, and we need to we maybe in the future there are a lot of things going on in terms of cybernetics, the consciousness, and artificial intelligence. We don't know where the answers are going to come. Okay, so we will keep our fingers crossed in this area, and we will wait for things to unfold.
Yes, Mangesh bhai, true.
Sir, please will you guide some books on these conditioning and what the chapter we have covered today, to explore or to be insightful more?
Yes. There is one sutra called Rice Seedling Sutra, and that's a very interesting sutra which is available online. And I think I have already forwarded a link of that sutra in the group, but I will do it again. Okay. And there are a lot of books which explains Buddhist conditionalities as to how the phenomena or anything arises, how the things arise depending on causes and conditions. They are all explained very well. But even in this small chapter in the Buddha and His Dhamma, if we read it, reflect on, and think about things, and try to really understand it, I think we can get a lot of things from these 2 pages itself. Because as I told you, that Baba Ambedkar has put a lot of efforts to write this particular book, and even to define the Dhamma like this, to believe that all compound things are impermanent. The Buddha, the title of the page doesn't go like this, that all things are impermanent. It goes like this: all compound things are impermanent. Then it means that the thing cannot be of its own. Everything is compound. We have to prove that everything is compound before we make a statement like this. To believe that all compound things are impermanent is Dhamma. So before doing that, we have to define composite things. And there is nothing in the world which is not composite of things.
Yeah, true. Means all the words, all the lines needs to be explored.
Yes.
And for that guidance, we need some more lectures from you and some guidance and books, so that because we miss, particularly if I am talking of myself, I can think to a limit, and I want to go beyond that limit also.
No, it's good.
Yeah, there is one book apart from Buddha and His Dhamma, Conditions Arising of Suffering, by Venerable Dhamma Buddho Mahathera.
If it is in the PDF file, you can put it in the group, ma'am.
PDF file, it is not there. It is hard copy. Aditya has many books like this on Dhamma.
You can take the photograph of the cover page and send it in the group.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right, then, because I am traveling at the moment, and so I'm very happy that Vidyaran, you want to say something?
Yeah. The thing is, when we discuss about Sunyata, we reduce it. We go on investigating and inquiring to the level of time, which is so minute and so dynamic, where timelessness exists. So and that is the moment which we call it as a present moment. So now present, I think present can be a very present cannot be so minute and micro concept. It can also be a bigger concept. Like present can be in not just a microsecond, but it can also be a hour. It can also be
It can be
a
an
day.
eternity.
Yeah.
If we use the word
Is-
eternity, but there is no concept like eternity in Buddhism. You go on, go on.
No, so am I thinking in the right way? That's what my
You are
question was.
thinking in the right way. The problem is of the language, because the world, the reality of the world, we cannot simply express in the symbols and the languages. So how can we directly experience the consciousness itself is the goal of the Buddha. How can we experience something which cognizes everything? How to see the mind? So it's the paradox, how the mind will see itself.
Right.
How to become aware of the awareness itself.
Right.
You see, so it's not easy in a sense, So words, the philosophizing schools, all those things are like props for us to go somewhere. It's just like the Buddha said, that my Dhamma is like a raft. So if we want to cross from this shore to that shore, we need a raft. And the raft is made up of grass, it's the grass rope, the wood in this thing. So we need a lot of these words, we need a lot of these terminologies, we need a lot of these thinking processes to reach to the other shore, means to see the way it is, to see our consciousness at it is. And when we cross the shore, we don't carry the raft. So all this conceptualization, all this verbalization, all these narrations are fascinating. They are okay. But the purpose of everything is to be able to experience the consciousness, knowing our own minds as it is. And knowing mind is not easy. Right? To know the mind, we have to be with our mind. We have to spend a lot of time with our mind. We have to sit with our mind. We have to understand our mind. We have to train our mind. We have to tame our mind. Isn't it?
Very true, sir. Sadhu, sadhu.
So, we can go on talking about a lot of this time, space, timelessness, what happens when the Buddha becomes enlightened, and a lot of these things. And, there are a lot of theories, a lot of ideologies come into existence within Buddhism, without Buddhism, and we get lost in the jungle of ideologies, in the jungle of views, as the Buddha says. And the Buddha has only one, test. Whatever views we have, are they beneficial to us and others? So ultimately, compassion. What is the nature of Mahakaruna that Tathagata had? What is the link between the Karuna and the wisdom? The Prajna. Okay, so we can go on talking about theories. We can go on into the realm of speculative thinking, which is very flamboyant. It's very interesting. Very, to think about how the world has originated and how it's going to end. These are all questions that that are so flamboyant that they want us to think about them. But the Buddha says, what is the most important question? That we suffer. And why do we suffer? Can we end our suffering? We can leave some of the questions in the domain of science, evidence-based things, but we should be able to concentrate on why do I suffer? Why there is so much suffering in the world? And the suffering is human made. The sun, the moon, they are neutral. It's very deep. So, when you understand the doctrine of Sunyata, what is the conclusion that Baba Ambedkar has drawn? See, what is the moral of this doctrine of the Buddha? This is a much more important question. And what is the moral? Moral of this doctrine of impermanence is simple. Do not be attached to anything. Do not be attached to anything. How beautiful this is. So once Baba Ambedkar went to Burma and he saw those Burmese villages, very beautiful, rectangular streets, rectangular, roads. The house is beautiful. So Baba Ambedkar asked, how come your villages are so beautiful? Don't you quarrel with your neighbor for the piece of land? The villagers said, no, why do we need to quarrel with the people for the piece of land? It's impermanent. Sabbam anityam. Now look at here, everybody is trying to possess every other thing. Then what happens? Everything is messy. Look in our community. We are holding on to our identity so much. We are holding on to our status so much that there is nothing moving, nothing moves. And unless things move, there cannot be a change. You see, Vidyanand bhai, where I'm getting at?
Yes, I got it.
Good. So I
Yes,
think,
Mohan bhai, very much deep, straight.
yeah. So I think Rucha wanted to say something before we conclude. Let's hear from Rucha. Rucha ma'am.
Buddha discovered the Parmanu. Param means beyond that there is nothing. It's ultimate. And this Parmanu was made up of Prithvi, Aap, Teja, Vayu, the four basic elements.
Good.
And these are not the elements as in substance, but these were the properties. So these four properties are part of this Parmanu. And this Parmanu was 1/16th part of Anu. And this Anu was part of Ratharenu, which was 1/16th part of this Anu. And then comes the Renu, which is again 16 times of Ratharenu. And if we see the combination of this, then the Parmanu, the smallest particle, we can say was 64,556, if I am correct. So this was the truth discovered by Buddha, and it was at experiential level. We were talking about science. So the science which was envisioned, it was beyond science actually by Buddha, and this was a reality based at experiential level. So it was the greatest of the scientists, and we talked about the Sunyata concept. There is cannot say there is emptiness around us. In the air also there are frequencies, and with the evolution of internet, everyone has witnessed there are frequencies matching, and it has been proved it's not empty. Personally, I mapped Shunyata with the name Tathagata. Tatha means to stop, and Agata means whatever is coming. So there is nothing coming and going. And when the person the attend the stage, he or she is named as Tathagata.
Good.
So Shunyata, there is Shunya concept I'm personally linking. Maybe my understanding may be wrong, but I'm personally connecting this with Tathagata and Shunyata with Tathagata.
Good.
And that's where the name of the Buddha. There is so much we can talk about and discuss, as you have said, about the ideologies. But the main thing about the doctrine, which we personally develop, keeping aside all the ideologies, all the labels, comes at experiential level. When we acknowledge it and experience it, it becomes reality.
Good.
Yeah, one thing I want to say.
Yes,
In
madam.
Buddha and His Dhamma, Baba Sahib has given stated that it is because of impermanence, arising and passing away of the subatomic particles in the space, as well as talking about the human individual being. The man is becoming, being is becoming. So it is not static, and what he was at past moment, he is not at the present, and he will not be at future moment. So there is continuous frequent arising and passing away of these elements, subatomic particles, whatever you can say. So this is this impermanence is called Shunyata.
Good. See, whatever we discuss, we should go back to the Malukya Putta Sutta, because that is very important sutta, and that sutta explains how we work on our suffering and how our minds can be free. So for example, the moral of this whole discussion, as Baba Ambedkar said, was to see whether we are becoming more detached, whether we are becoming more free as a human being, whether our minds are becoming more free free from suffering, free from all bondages, free from all the burdens.
Yeah, no attachment.
Isn't it? So
Yeah.
I think, that's the moral of the story. And I think we have taken a lot of time today. So thank you so much all. And we will meet next week. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.